Hey everybody, welcome back to another Leal Legacy Vloggentary. Today we are taking a look back to our family trip to Disney's Hollywood Studios from January 2020 and our getting to ride and experience the Rise of the Resistance ride for the first time. Now, it's a nightmare trying to get on this ride simply because, well, A, you have to jump online at specific times while in the park to request a boarding pass or get a boarding pass. Now, the boarding pass meant you could ride the ride that day at a very specific time. Not very specific window of time. But there are only so many boarding passes available a day. And you're simultaneously doing this with like everybody else in the park at the time. So the Wi-Fi is super shoddy, cell service, like cell data is very spotty. So if you are lucky enough to score a boarding pass, the second obstacle that we faced, because we went to Hollywood Studios twice on this trip, and this is our second time at Hollywood Studios. So the first time we went to Hollywood Studios, we didn't get on the ride. I think we did end up getting a boarding pass that first visit, but the ride was relentlessly breaking down. So every so often we'd get an alert, or I don't even actually recall if we got an alert, but we would discover, or maybe it was on the park app, we would see one way or another that the ride was down, and the ride being down didn't really, like, your boarding time was your boarding time. I think they would let you come back if the ride was shut down during your boarding pass time frame or time window, but even then, like, there's no guarantee within that window or the next window the ride wasn't going to be continuously breaking down then as well. So our first trip, we got boarding passes, ride was broken down for too long, we didn't get to go on. This trip, or this visit, we obviously made it on, and it wasn't without Marissa's dedication to jumping on the app and scoring our boarding passes. So thank the gods for her. Now the line here is just like, it's where, so I guess the immersion to all of it begins when you enter Batuu, Galaxy's Edge. But this queue, I mean, it's straight out of the movies. And given that Batuu is not from any particular movie, it's Disney Parks, like, specific Star Wars canon at this point, because I think Batuu is canon within the Star Wars universe, and it's a theme park. It's not, like, I guess it is content depending on how you want to look at it. But anyway, what I'm getting at is we haven't seen anything exactly like this in the movies, but we've seen so much familiar sights in the movies, like those maps that we had just seen. Everything, all the weaponry, the clothing, just everything in those cages was so, I mean, screen accurate. Like, you're basically on the set of a Star Wars movie. It's not one that ever came out, but this is exactly, I mean, they could shoot, you know, a Star Wars show, short, what have you, within this line queue, and you would fully 100%, you know, it would be Star Wars. You would believe it is. Rylan just hit a bunch of thermal detonators that I'm just noticed in this viewing. So, you know, he almost blew everybody up. Yeah, look at that. Everything in there. Like, the attention to detail. They drove home hardcore. Luckily, a little perk with the whole boarding pass thing is you're not waiting very. Let's see. Look, he hit the thermal detonators again. You're not waiting an insane amount of time. So I would say I didn't get to see everything within those like weapon cages and just kind of like the props that they have around. I didn't get to look over them in great detail or shoot any of them in great detail just because we weren't spending that much time in the line queue itself anyway. But what we did get to check out. So I'm like, basically, if you did have to spend a good like 45 minutes to an hour in this waiting in line, it's not going to be boring. You know what I mean? There's enough around to look at. Just the whole like just immersive nature of being in this rebel base is, I don't know. I mean, you're fully entertained all the way through, even if you had to wait a significant amount of time to get on the ride. But like I said, luckily, waiting a really long time did not pair with the boarding pass situation. I guess the boarding pass is kind of like a fast pass, essentially, but a much more in-depth version of fast passes. There you go. That's one of those maps I was talking about earlier. How many movies have we seen those in? I mean, I think back to my mind goes to Empire Strikes Back. I know that wasn't the first time we've seen them, but when they were in the base on Hoth, I do remember those. Look at little BB-8. That BB-8. So the cool thing about droids is they're basically animatronics already. So you're just making, you know, a real operational BB-8, and it's a BB-8. Like, it's nailed it. You know what I mean? The beauty of droids and animatronics. So this room is where the ride essentially begins. You're being mission briefed, basically. I'm not gonna lie. Like, as soon as the line queue was cool, but this pre-show is what like really, really sucked me in, and I started, you know, like geeking out hard. It's a hologram. It looks like a hologram from Star Wars. You know what? Like they brought it to life. Something that we've seen on screen countless times. It's just there. It is. You know, leave it to Disney Imagineers to bring something like that to life. You know, it's not the most like iconic piece of Star Wars by any means, but that's how everybody communicated. Holograms, and to see one in real life, it was such a heavy nostalgic hit of Star Wars. Oh, and by the way, that's Nine Num. Nine Num is part of this ride. That's not Admiral Akbar. It's another Mon Calamari, but Nine Num is flying the ship we're going to be getting on. And then, of course, there's Poe. The cool thing about Poe and BB is they're right outside these doors. So from where we just saw Poe, he's actually in that X-Wing right there. See, look at me, Captain Obvious. There's Poe saying that. Yeah, but I thought that was so neat. And in the back of that X-Wing, you can see a little BB-8 back there. Now, I don't remember if BB was already in it when we first came out, or if he like pops up as though he's just boarding that X-Wing as well as we're getting on this starship over here. That's something I'm going to want to go back and check out. And man, so we actually got to do this whole beginning part twice because we made it through the line queue once and we got past here. But the ride broke down as we were already like in the experience. So it worked out though, because we got to do that pre-show twice, and this, like, you know, this is where the ride's like, this is ride active, I guess, because the ride actually starts at that pre-show. But now we're on something that moves, I guess is what I'm getting at. So getting to ride it twice, this part at least, we got the view at the front of the ship, nice and big with Rylan and Marissa in frame. And then the little screen right there, that's a view from the back of the ship. So that's a window looking behind us, and I guess that's Poe following us. And then at the front, we got the Mon Calamari. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, it's you feel immediately, you feel like you're on a spaceship. And it takes no time for the action to get going. So this is where the First Order finds us and starts to attack. It's so cool because no matter where you're standing on this transport, it's exciting. There's so much to look at. So if you're not right up at the front with the captain, don't worry about it. Because look at your view at the back of the ship, you know. And if you're somewhere in the middle and you can check out both, even better. Everything's real easy to see. There's no, I don't know. I guess if you were like Bane's size, he was 3. If an adult's not holding you up, I guess you could see how it's not. I could see how it's less entertaining, but though that there is pretty exciting movement on this transport where that whole battle scene is going down, you can hold a little one. I think on the top with the front of the ship view, I was holding Bane already, I believe. So it's not jerky enough to where you feel like you're going to fall over because you are standing on that portion of the ride. But you can hold a little one and still feel like you have a pretty good grasp and, you know, your balance is intact. So this is the more entertaining view, the back of the ship at this portion. And then here we are. We're captured. We got sucked into a tractor beam. Now we are on a Star Destroyer. And let me tell you, this part tripped me out. You feel like you are standing. Bane's like, Daddy, where are we? We were captured. We're on a Death Star. Or Star Destroyer. But those stormtroopers, those are all animatronic, and they do move. They make real subtle movements. Like I said, they move ever just so like slightly and fluidly. It adds to the realism of an army of a platoon of stormtroopers are standing right in front of you, and that giant screen of just like the airlock force field, and just looking into space like this, you feel like you're on a Star Destroyer. I'm geeking out just rewatching this. So being there physically, look at his face. Rylan was geeking hard too. Being there, like I don't know. I personally can't put into words just how I don't know. I can't put it into words. But the immersion into Star Wars is just, it's indescribable. Bane's really concerned.
We got captured by the First Order, man.
We got captured. I mean, these two fools didn't understand the gravity of it. Bane was super concerned. He's like, what's happening now? What's going on? I thought we were going on a ride. Was that the ride? Why are we not back in the park? I can only imagine those little thoughts going through his sweet head. Rylan clearly, you know, he's an older kid. He knows it's all pretend. But you saw his face. Like, the geek factor is just overwhelming. So I was carrying Bane, and she said I had to put the youngling on the ground. Yeah. So Baney just made the cut to go on this ride. And like, honestly, if he didn't make the cut, I was gonna be so bummed. But he made it, and it's an exciting enough ride that, because he was 3 at the time, so to a 3-year-old, yeah, it's pretty thrilling. I mean, it's thrilling no matter how old you are, but it's not as thrilling as I would say like a roller coaster. You know what I mean? It is. It's that new like magnetic technology, like the free roaming ride cars. So that was the first time I got to experience a ride like that, which is really, really cool. No track. It's just rolling freely on the ground, on the floor. And that alone, I guess, really makes it really gives it the ability to feel just way more fluid and less, uniform. And all the cast members within Batu, but especially on this ride, that doesn't make sense. But on this ride, they're Imperial soldiers or First Order soldiers. The dark side's always going to be the Empire to me, but yeah, they're First Order, right? Soldiers. Is that the right term too? They work for the First Order, and they stay in character, like deep in character, the entire time. So we're in our cell now. General Hux came to give us a little chat. Kylo Ren pops up. That feels really, really interesting because he's using the Force on us in that part, or in that little chunk, and the way they like suck it, like, dim the lights rapidly, and there's like this hum that you really, it does something to you, like it really makes you feel like the Force is being used on you. That effect was really neat. We're being broken out of our cell and being put on transports to get off this Star Destroyer. Are those called transports as well? I guess they would have to be called transports. So it was a starship that we got here on, but I think they also call that a transport. I don't know. Everything's a transport. If it's transportation to transport, I guess. Yeah. There's little Bane. Look at him. Look at the geek on his face. He's just like, whoa. Yeah, so there's a little Star Wars mapping of our vehicle. We have an R5 unit at the front that's actually supposed to be driving this thing. Luckily, Finn is on board the Star Destroyer as well, to where he can give us tips on how to get off. Finn on this ride is way cooler and way tougher than Finn actually in the movies, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. That little like 30-second clip of Finn was as tough as he's ever been. I'm not trying to talk smack about Finn, I'm sorry. This is a fun ride. Yeah, it's just more of what I was saying. It's the immersiveness of this. You're legit on a Star Destroyer. Seeing a probe droid in real life was a dream come true that I didn't even really know I had. Look, whenever the stormtroopers and any kind of blaster shoots, it's so, I don't know, you feel like you can see the blast, like the blast bolt or whatever they call them, blaster bolt. Look, AT-ATs. Bane loves an AT-AT, but you feel like the bolts from the blasters are like flying past you. Like, there's Finn, little animatronic Finn there in the little door, the corridor. Especially right here when the AT-AT starts shooting. Spoiler. You really feel like the bolts are like going. See, look, like you feel like you could get tagged by one at any second. Like the realism of it all is just so. I was geeking way too hard. Really good Kylo Ren animatronic. The Hux animatronic, I don't know. He's a little weird. But look at the fluid motion on Kylo. Look at that. Like, to believe that's not a person is so weird. The ride itself it takes a good amount of time. Like, it's not just over and done with. This part's really, really flippin' cool. Kylo stabs his lightsaber through the ceiling and starts cutting it open. That is so cool to see. Like, in person. To see a lightsaber coming through a door and cutting through it like we've seen mostly in the prequels, I feel like. That was so cool. It was so cool. It just seemed so real. These blaster cannons from the Star Destroyer firing over your head. Super, super rad. And here you go. This is the most not necessarily right now. This is kind of cool. This is kind of weird how we escape Kylo Ren. Because you can still see him standing there. I don't know. I wish they kind of blocked him a little bit better, but I'm not trying to nitpick. I'm really not. So yeah, this is the most thrilling part of the ride right here. When we get on another transport. There's a drop right here. So it does feel kind of like a little free fall drop, but it's not like Tower of Terror style. It's super fast. It's super, I mean, you definitely feel the drop, but it's not, you don't really get that like overwhelming losing your stomach sensation. And there we are. The escape pod. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. You crash land back on Batuu. So to keep the immersion rolling, you know? We tried to leave Batuu, got captured by a Death or Star Destroyer, and we escape back to Batuu. Sorry, I was just trying to listen to what the ride itself was saying, because I'm trying to remember that Mon Calamari's name, and I'm sorry, I'm not. I wasn't well prepared to do this. There he is, though. He's okay. Lieutenant Rex. That's his name. Lieutenant Rex. He's good. He's okay. I wonder if we'll ever see him in any sort of like TV or movies, Star Wars. But yeah, that was it. That was our first experience on Rise of the Resistance. Looking forward to going back and doing it all again. They're still doing the boarding pass thing. Bane, hey, hold me. Look at all that, see? It's just so, like, even getting off the ride, it's so Star Wars. But yeah, looking forward to going and doing it again. I don't know if the boarding pass thing is just going to be how they do it forever. With how long that line queue is, it doesn't seem like something that they anticipated doing forever, but maybe they will. I don't know. You know, things at Disney parks are ever changing and ever evolving. So stoked to go back, stoked to do it again. Thanks for watching, everyone. LealLegacy.com. Come on over to LealLegacy.com and scope out all the killer content we have for you, including my podcast, Leal Legacy's Ragnarok. On Ragnarok, I'm currently going through and doing commentary watch-along podcasts to all the Disney animated features. So you can find that available across all your favorite podcast platforms or at LealLegacy.com. And then just click on the Ragnarok link. There's several up there. Not only am I doing features, I'm doing some shorts as well that I'm not able to post in on YouTube with the classic cartoon commentaries. So, but while you're at the site, visit our Skeleton Crew store. Skeleton Crew brand is our Leal Legacy lifestyle brand. Lots of parody stuff, I guess, is what the kids would call it. I don't know. I took a lot of things that I've been inspired by my whole life and things I love and done my own like Skeleton Crew spooky rendition of it. So you can find that at leallegacy.com/shop or skeletoncrewbrand.com. As always, thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting that ding dong notification bell. You can find Leal Legacy across all your favorite social media platforms at Leal Legacy. And as always, thanks for being a friend and telling a friend. I'll see you guys next time.